The narrow road dips and rises along slow curves. Pockmarks scar the asphalt like a plague. Rain glazes its shattered surface and refuses to dry from the night before. The hills stretch deep and long. Sheep stand in the fog, whole flocks undisturbed, their wool wet and matted. Smoke rises from chimneys in the distance. I keep watch for a field pristine like no other. In the places between mountains, in the lows no one sees, nestled among the rock forms of abandoned shrines and toppled cross shapes grown into soil turned bloated. At that holy intersection she waits, among curves that stretch unconcerned and casual. She is constant like stone, excised from the earth, retooled from its pagan rawness and reborn as temples for the worshippers of the son of a god of the sky. From town to town I hear the whispers, shopkeepers and innkeepers, locals and pubs, youths who prance and the aged who teeter. On streets and in parks, faces pulled tight, skin strained and grown wary. Listowel, Tralee, Killorglin all speak the same story, in the blackness of soil, the crispness of air, the hard chapel walls shielded by fences and lawns. Details vary, faces change, but the heart is as constant as the gray of the sky, unchanging and bloodless in the bodies below. It is a docking point for the night, the whispers say, a way station for the lost who splinter forever, essence without form, mute to the living and dumb to the future. The dead shore themselves against the field, blindly, stumbling into a severed space, unaware but attracted by indelible forces, bound by terrestrial kin to forever flames burning unheard and white. They call in dreams through bonds of love. We listen and believe, and deliver ourselves home to them, to family, to memories once breathing. Past the lip of dirt, we watch to the sky, up and receded from light, past shovels that pitch from bodies that sway, wonder, grieve, pray. Down I ride through the winding passes of County Clare, through its small gateways of Cahir Savine, Ochermong, out, south, lower, to the port towns at sea level. In Ballinskillig I slip into a pub with no name by the wharf, as men shout to others preparing to disembark. Gulls wail above the clanging of bells, and the smell of salt lingers low. The overcast sky beams as it smothers the afternoon sun. I need a chance to think, and breathe, and remember. The pub is as dank as the air outside, both sodden and heavy and too full of old rain. Dark as the night. The men at the tables and counters eye me past hunched shoulders. They cover wheezes with fists bunched like crumpled leather. The old ones are hardened like logs, shelled by wind-burned skin and inset with eyes that glance. And the young ones laugh with open faces till they glance at the old ones and shrink at the image of their own mid to late life. All of them look like sailors. All of their eyes are as dim as the overcast sky, cold like the hills below and the graves they seal. Impervious. What'll be? The bartender eyes me like I'm an intruder. Well, Guinness, I suppose. A pint. A couple of the men along the bar chuckle, the sailor-looking ones. One of them speaks up, loud enough for the whole pub to hear. Don't serve anything smaller here, lad. This isn't London. Laughter rings out. Might want to check elsewhere if you're looking for Hershey's, son. Back in America, maybe? More laughter. A bit stronger than he's used to, I think. He's more used to it than you think, if you know what I mean. You're supposed to drink after driving, lad, not during. Depends on who he's going to see, after all. You won't catch me going home sober. The laughter picks up again. I swipe the Guinness from the counter and throw some money towards the bartender. In the corner, I settle in and face out, back to the wall. After a few more jokes at my expense, the men resume their silence and subdued shoulders. Through the tilt of my head and the rim of my glass, I see them glance. Another one. Another damn tourist, treating our life like we're under glass. What is it this time? Doesn't know better, foolish boy. It's all in the eyes. The mandatory curiosity, the thunderclap judgment, the subsequent dismissal. Another chug, another raised finger for the bartender, another passerby summed and forgotten. Like the slide of beer froth that clings on lips, like frost on an overnight window, a tide receding out of reach. I watch myself lose touch with the bottom of my own glass. The haze in my mind swells. Stop! Stop scrutinizing! Don't judge them so harshly, she would say, leaning forward on her elbows, taking a sip. You don't know what they've been through. That's in the Bible. And no need to quote it back to me. I'm the one who told you. She would know that was true, just like I would know that she would be annoyed at my intentional digression. And that's why I would say it. What use is the Bible, especially in Ireland? I'd quote it only to mock its imperiousness, its ephemera, which she, taking the bait, would love. She would flick my shoulder for being petulant enough to be correct, just as she was also correct, knowing that the flick ran the risk of hurting, but also knowing that a smile would cure any wrong, and knowing my sensitivity would make that sense of wrong likely, and that cure perfect. We would carry on like this. The flick was always a gesture of flirting, like struck flint. That would become a rub or a lint pick if I pouted, and then, dangling my fingertips in her water, made little splashes that forced me, giggling, to apologize to the waiter, unnecessarily, for acting 10 years younger than we were. This is how we reconciled our fake squabbles. It was all about reconciliation, mock or actual, to sustain hope in renewable closeness. Without children, it became possible to stay children ourselves, in silly, tiny ways that only we knew. Although our friends with children would tell us the opposite, that it was having children that kept them aware of newness, made them sharp to the cuts of their own tongues and words, that leave lash marks well beyond spurious reminders made for the sake of household pedantry. To no good end at all behind remaking a home into a tomb colder than winter stone. For me, I was kept new enough just by being with her, raw like a chafed baby. The puddle around the base of my mug leaves a white ring on the tabletop that aligns with another, older ring faded into the wood, made by someone who might have stared down and slapped his palm while laughing with friends, or beat his fist in torment at a partner's newfound illness. The thick, old wood has soaked up enough that it feels as pliant as rubber. It has no more glaze, but is bare to injuries, to the thoughtless scratches of those bodies it supports, and the stains they press into its skin. My skin on its skin, the familiar compression of nerves, leaving me wooden like the faces of the bodies of drinkers. The men start carrying on a bit, laughing some, laughing at me, no doubt. The haze of beer settles in. I want to ask them how they know about us, her and me. They do, I can see it. They have things they want to tell me but won't, just as I want to ask but won't, if there have been others before me who have gone and come back. There are too many questions. The old woman at the bed and breakfast was right. But still, I want to ask. I want to know if they know anyone out there in the field, if they had visited them, if they have loved ones who wait in a time without pause or end, stitched into the green memory of the Isle of Hills, sunk with the stones, risen to the sky, joined with forebears whose names were never known. We all return to the field, in a moment awoken to the past. We return to our birth, to where memory began, down in the soil. We all do. This is what the sailors say, in their posture, their eyes, the cant of their language. One day this visitor will see. He'll see why we don't go. He'll see why we stopped going. He'll know what we know. But by then, it'll be too late. Don't judge, she would say, leaning forward on her elbows and taking a sip. But harshness is the rule. Judgment is resurrection. The damned and the waiting aspire only to what our lost ones have gained. All men, once judged, become innocent. Like breath slipped from flesh, rid of its anchor, they rise. It's the quickest way to be lifted on high, to be twinned to the clay, beneath the formless stone below, immaculate in shape, once glimpsed in the weight of the unjudged who still breathe. So much land to cover. It has to be north. No one in the pub with no name in Ballinskillig can provide specifics, only vagaries, which is fine, but I'm certainly not going to ask for more. And so the engine starts, and I take off, leaving behind the shore and the gulls in search of higher land. The path, if unbroken, will bring me to you, love. Once I've traveled far enough, once I have gone to the place I can no longer return to. Once I've canvassed further than the reach of the road, the country hamlets and their dripping roofs and stone windowsills, beyond the grey ocean, and down into the cold earth circled by green sprigs dying to frost. Amongst the grassland sepulchre you will be risen to a state beyond the offerings of the flesh. Where the stars are peers, I will find you resting in a body uncorrupted, consecrated to the sky, implanted in its ranks, and if time doesn't move for you, you won't suffer while you wait. Only the living suffer, not those who've passed. That's what I believe, what I've chosen to believe. It's just my mind and my grief making fears real. I did listen in church, and that's where my fears live. But beliefs are pure nothing. My eyes only can tell me the only truth that there is, the truth that you're not there, in the pit, in the myth, in whispers pulled from the hushed lips of apes, curled around campfires pressed by the night.